Okay guys, welcome back. So I'm heading out for the final cultivation pass on the soybeans that were planted late. The year has been funny, and their development, here I am the start of the third week of July, and I'm finally quote quote laying the beans back. So I want to talk about two things. So this year I did get a new pair of tires for my cultivation tractor. They are 16.9 38ths, and you know, by the numbers their footprint is 2 inches bigger than the 15.5s, but I have found that their footprint is it's a bigger tire, and that tire allows you less motion in the row, especially unfortunately with the Massey Ferguson. I have my PAVT wheels set in all the way. Ideally they would go in just probably 2 more inches on each side, but it is impossible with these bigger tires to center the tire in the row. But they're doing a good job, and for this last pass where I'm driving straight, that's not a problem. There's not a whole lot of deviation on the aggressive cultivator. So what I want to talk about here on the back of the tractor, there is my sway bar. And if you notice my sway bar, we have a fixed hole position, and then we have the slot slider position. And so how I set this tractor when I'm cultivating with it is that I put that pin right there in the sliding position. And I do the same on both pins on both sides. You can see it's in the sliding position. So when I get up here, I want to be there as dead center on the tractor, and I want to allow about an inch, inch and a half motion that way, and an inch that way. So that amount of motion right there is enough to allow the cultivator to quote quote track true and do its thing. I can see that I'm about 1 turn off on this side here, and so I'm going to loosen this side up 1 turn. But anyway, that's what I was talking about in reference to the cultivator being able to move side to side a little bit. You don't want to lock your cultivator aggressive, especially when you have the rolling guide fins. You want to allow it a little bit of motion. And so the last thing, we'll step over here and look at the cultivator before I hook it up. And my son Dane is greasing it. It's going to get a good workout today. So this is the aggressive cultivator. We have the quick change depth wheels. Our foot setting on this is the 4-inch on the front rank, and then on the back rank we go to the full 7s, and then the rear one is a full 7. And so this cultivator will move a lot of dirt. It will move as much dirt as a 3 sweep per row C-shank cultivator, and I like it for the Danish tine action, you know, the way the teeth vibrate in the soil. So we're off to do that final cultivation on soybeans. How's the grease coming, Dane?
Good.
So this, you can see what he's doing there. This cultivator actually has 6 grease zerks on each pivot, and the pivot is a triangle. Now there's 3 attachment points on each side of the pivot, and each one of those pivot points is greasable. And so I like that. That really reduces wear on your row units. You know, theoretically, in perfectly mellow soil, that row unit there will track exactly behind you if your feet, your shovels and shanks are evenly spaced. But we all know that there are tight spots in the soil, or there are big weeds, you know, that will push the row unit to side, and so that is a reason that I love the Massey Ferguson cultivators. Is instead of, unlike some of the John Deeres and the Internationals that just have 2 attachment points, the Massey has 3 attachment points, and that prevents twisting of the row unit itself. Okay guys, I don't know that I've talked about this quite as explicitly before, but that is the rolling guide fin. And on the high residue, deep, high residue shanks, you know, they're 4 inches taller. And so one of the differences in setting the cultivator was you had to put your guide fins down into this lower hole. The other ones that have the 14-inch clearance shanks, you know, they're in this upper hole that goes up. But when you use the high clearance shanks, you have to put that in the lower hole. So inside that hub there are 2 bearings, and on the Massey they are greasable. But the reason that you allow motion in your cultivator is so that you don't put side load. Those are engaged in the ground, and those bearings are not over-engineered, and if you put excessive side load on them, you will take that bearing out. It's nice that they do have a grease zerk. There's the grease zerk right there. But if you are using your stabilizer bars to push against these constantly, you will either break that disc or you will put the bearings out there. So you've got to avoid side load. You've got to let the cultivator track where it wants to. The other nice thing about the Massey is this adjustment right here. Now, with that adjustment, you can, you know, change the angle of the rolling guide pin. You can adjust the angle so that it is definitely pulling true and it's not pulling your cultivator side to side. Okay guys, so I'm back in the field cultivating. I spent the morning doing the bottoms closer to the house, and now I'm over in the big bottom. I would stop and get out and walk around and show you what the cultivator is doing, but we're probably going to have to do it on the fly, because look at the horizon up there. So yes, rain is coming on, and yes, I have 30 acres to cover before the rain hits, hopefully. We'll see how that goes. But I'll stop here and take one look behind me. So the cultivator is ridging up real nice. A few of the bigger weeds in between the row. This is the tough part of the bottom. Here, when we get to the ends, there was a morning glory, and there's a foxtail right there that survived in the row, in between the row. Well, he won't survive this cultivation. The aggressive cultivator will take him out. And so I probably should have been here, you know, a week ago and doing the final pass, but one thing about the organic farm is that you have to constantly manage the workflow. And so when I get to the end of June, 1st of July, #1 priority for me becomes harvesting the small grains. And so we've been attacking the small grains, got that done, got the cover crop planted. I was haying yesterday, the day before. Right before that, we had that inch 60 rain that I showed you on the cover crops. But it has been a little bit of a challenge this year. This planting, it's looking good, but it was delayed. Here we are, the 3rd week of July, and that's about a week later than I've ever done the final cultivation. And so, I don't know, it's funny weather, but we're making do with what we have. Anyway, these are seed beans. The destination is Blue River. The variety are the I think N44 923S's. They are the Navita beans, and I do love these beans. These beans last year had some of the dicamba issues with them, and they still managed a relatively respectable yield. And so anyway, I am going to keep pushing before that gets here. This will be the final cultivation video. for the year, guys. And so if you've got questions, ask them in the comment section. Thank you. Okay guys, I'm not sure if you can see it, but way down at the other end there is a brown spot walking across the field. And a funny story about deer and the river and superior weed control is that deer like water hemp and they like red pigweed. And so when I'm cultivating along here, some of the things that I'm seeing, let me zoom back out. Some of the things that I'm seeing is I'm seeing water hemp and red pigweed. See, there's one right there that survived the cultivation, but it's been topped off. And so that's my little buddies, the deer, working for me, you know. The year that you have corn out here, you really don't like the deer because, boy, they sure like corn. But the soybean year, they become your friends. So guys, here's that red pigweed that I was talking about, that the deer have just entirely topped off. That's the deer working for you. And so when your field is this clean, everything likes a little variety. And so when the deer are faced with eating soybeans like that or nibbling on this giant red pigweed, you can see what they choose. So guys, the deer that I spooked up down at that end, apparently she was a mother, because when I was doing the intro down there, I spooked up a little fawn, little Bambi. So anyway, since this is the last video of the year, I do want to cover one point. So we're on an end row there, and there is the weave together. That's the pattern that it looks like once it's fully cultivated. So when we were starting out organic farming, you know, I would be hesitant to do the triangle. But I learned real quick that when you cultivate, you have to cultivate the whole field. Yes, you are killing beans now. I can look down there and see where I've killed some beans with the aggressive cultivator. But you need to cultivate the whole field. When you come back in the fall, this grid pattern will have filled in. Yeah, there will be a few bare spots, but there will not be weeds, and it will not limit the yield per se. The other thought that I wanted to share with you, since I'm out of the, you know, tight soil over there and I'm down here into the sugar dirt, I have set my row units one turn deeper, so that's like half of an inch deeper. Because lo and behold, the rain did pass over us and we have clear sky and sun and 90 degrees now. And so now that I'm down here into the sugar dirt, I am going deeper, I'm going a hair slower, but I'm really pushing up ridges. This will be the last cultivation. They are calling for 3 days of rain now, and you know, perhaps up to several inches of rain. So thanks for watching the cultivation videos.